Hi guys, today we're bringing you an overview of the updated December guide for SUI and APTOS ecosystems, primarily focused around updated airdrop guides, but also DeFi opportunities, even a little bit of NFT and meme coin madness. So a lot to do, let's get started. So why do people think that SUI and APTOS might be the next Solana? First of all, they're both sharing the same qualities of speed, efficiency, and scalability. And most importantly, they're built by the same team, almost. They are both people from Facebook's X project, Libra or Diem. Furthermore, I was not really surprised to see that Coin Bureau has actually included both SUI and APTOS as their end of the year portfolio, because in crypto, you kind of always want to double dip in a sense that you're both positioned in quality ecosystems. And in our case, these quality ecosystems have some amazing airdrop opportunities, which we will talk about today. And finally, you can see also that the price of both tokens is doing really well. SUI is leading the charge dramatically with breaking new all-time highs basically on the weekly, and APTOS still has a little bit of catching up to do. This is also equivalent in the total value locked on chain. It has been up only since we entered this stage of the bull market, and these two metrics are almost identical. So knowing all this, how can we position ourselves to maximize our airdrop potential as well as price appreciation of the underlying tokens? We have two projects in mind on SUI right now. These are Bucket Protocol and Kria DEX. We have talked about these already in depth before, so this is just a quick update that you can identify some really amazing pools on Kria. For example, you can see this Deep SUI pair is currently yielding 900% APY. That is absolutely insane. Keep in mind that this 900% is for about 10% of the price up and down, right? Left and right. But even if you put a conservative range, which is about 30% down and 50% up from current price, you're still generating between 200 to 300% APY. So this is crazy. And Deep is, of course, one of the premier dexes also on APTOS, on SUI. And of course, you want to have somewhat correlated pairs when you're LPing to minimize impermanent loss and to make sure that even if your position is fully Deep or fully SUI, in the mid to long term, you should be just okay. And in the meantime, you're generating amazing yield. You're generating the Maya, which is going to be qualifying you for the Kria DEX airdrop, which is still relatively underfarmed. Since we done the first video, it had less than 2,000 users. Now it's over 12,000 users. But of course, it is still very little comparatively. If you remember, Jito had only 10,000 users and it was still one of the best airdrops of 2023. Of course, we hope that something like this happens here as well. Alternatively, if you don't want to worry about impermanent loss, if you don't want to just constantly rebalance your position for the maximum yield, you can also choose some of these vaults, which are also incredibly good yield. For example, you can find this WUSDC SUI all weather, which is currently yielding 400% APY. One thing to note with these things, of course, guys, it is always important to check the total value locked inside of these vaults, because if it's something like 150K, then maybe if more people deposit, this is going to, of course, fall. But at the moment, the yields are incredible. You're generating the airdrop because you're still qualifying for this. Always make sure that you enter the positions which are giving you Maya, which you can, of course, burn to qualify for their airdrop. And finally, they also have their liquid stake SUI, and this is also something you could have some exposure to. It might be some extra multiplier. If you have some SUI tokens, make sure to get some KSUI, which is Kria SUI, their liquid stake token. And you can automatically invest it in these strategies for extra yield, just a cherry on top. Only one thing I will add to this Bucket Protocol airdrop tutorial is the fact that sometimes people are super scared. Okay, what if Bucket stablecoin depegs? What then? Well, there is actually one interesting strategy you can use to actually hedge against this eventuality. Of course, we don't want that to happen. We want to generate these really nice APYs on our deposits. But even if Buck slightly depegs, you can hedge against this by simply selling out of your Buck positions into something else. If the stablecoin depegs to, let's say, I don't know, 60, 70 cents, you can buy back at lower prices, return your, of course, borrowed amount, and then you can make a profit even if stablecoin depegs. Again, we have played a very dangerous game with this using UST. Last time it happened, I will never forget May 8th when it depegged to like 88 cents. A huge part of me wanted to just buy in. Surely he's going to recover, right? So it is a very dangerous game. Ideally, we don't want this to happen to Bucket, but even if that happens, worst case scenario, short term depegging can also be beneficial if you repay your loan in the value of Buck token itself. Another thing you can do in SUI ecosystem is to bet on SUI dexes. How this worked out in Solana. For example, when Solana ecosystem was picking up steam dramatically over the last couple of months, you can see that Radium, which is the top dex on Solana, it has had most volume, most traffic, most fees, most revenue, and this was very, very reflexive to the price of token itself. So if you're looking for the best decentralized exchanges on SUI and Aptos, you can look no further than Cetus. This is the safer bet if you want to bet on the Cetus token. But other than that, Deepbook and Bluefin, they are currently one of the leading contenders. Bluefin has recently had a really good airdrop, and Deepbook was best airdrop on SUI so far. So yes, these are great ways to incentivize users and maybe drive the price action of the token itself. Deep has been performing incredibly well since the launch. It was launching around 0.0 about 1 cent, and currently the price is around 10 cents, 9 to 10 cents. So yeah, this is another way you can play the SUI ecosystem if you believe that this momentum that SUI has is going to continue. Furthermore, you also have something like Blue Move. Blue Move is more or less for SUI memes. We were going to talk about this soon, but you can also use this if you want some exposure. And finally, you have the Hop aggregator. This is essentially a place like Jumper for EVM chains. This is Hop. They don't really have any plans to launch a token, as I've read through their documentations. No words about decentralization, no word about anything like this, but usually spreading your bets and just making a couple swaps here as well, not just for the best prices, but also from very, very, very speculative airdrop angle. Never a bad idea. Of course, if you're serious about crypto, if you really want to make it in this bull cycle and beyond, then being a part of a private alpha community where you can really share the knowledge in real time, talk with DeFi degens, and understand this space much, much better. Our Discord is one of the places where you can really network with amazing individuals. The last couple of weeks, we've been getting so many new members, then general airdrops, beginner questions. This is all place where we can help you get started and formulate the best strategy for yourself. We also have many active airdrop channels discussing Hyperlane, Meteora, and many, many other active airdrops. If you want to be part, make sure to check the subscriptions page. It is always in the first link of the description of the video. It will take you to a website. Here you can see all the prices, and at the moment we are seriously considering increasing the prices for 2025 because, of course, our 2-week notice is something that we consider fair for our YouTube audience, and almost certainly prices are going up, but we are planning some perks with this increase in price. So again, everything is in the air. We might not even do that, but it is very, very likely. Here you can see all the information, even an airdrop tracking application, which will help you keep organized. And finally, we have a collaboration with Chris. He is our DeFi wizard, generating us amazing yield every month, and we're paying out 10% passive income in the form if you hold this NFT. All you have to do is buy this on OpenSea, and you get a wallet that is generating you 10% on what you paid in the value of ETH at the moment of purchase. Now, personally, I'm not really an NFT or meme coin guy, so this is where the value of private community for me in particular comes very handy. I just talked with people and they've given me this list. I have no idea what this is. I have only bought a couple of these, so yeah, do with this information what you will. Of course, you need to do your own research for these things, but apparently these are the blue chip NFT collections on SUI. So if you want some exposure, maybe you can start your research here. And when it comes to meme coins, you have, of course, many, many options here as well. If you believe that SUI ecosystem is going to really explode in the next couple of months, more than it already has, then maybe positioning in some market leaders such as Axel or Lofi is not the worst idea. Again, this is very speculative, very risky, so you have to know what you're doing. But for me personally, I'm just throwing a little bit of cash in these market leaders, hoping to just ride the wave and maybe get some quality exposure. I am really, really happy with my entries. It is mostly luck, I'm not gonna lie. I really don't do much research on memes, but yeah, I'm really happy with my entries. If you're gonna be entering at these positions, know that it might be a little overheated, but you know, everybody needs to do the research. Maybe if you're crazy, you also do technical analysis for memes. I think that's ridiculous, but you know, everybody does what they believe is best with their fund. Just about Lofi is that it is actually being recognized from one of the co-founders of SUI ecosystem of the Miston Labs. So it has actually donated 2,000 SUI tokens to support the charitable initiative Lofi is doing. So this is always great and bullish for the ecosystem itself. All right, Aptos is going to be a much faster update because not much has really changed since our last video update, but there are some crucial things that you can look out for. Most importantly, I don't really believe a lot of people are actually voting in the Aptos governance, and if you believe that governance is going to play a much more important role in crypto, then it is definitely important to position accordingly. You can stake as little as 11 Aptos tokens, and you can do so through validators. There is a great staking guide, just like in the last video we talked about. You can just follow this guide and you will be set in a couple of minutes. There's a lot of constant new proposals on Aptos ecosystem, so the more of them you can vote for or delegate your voting power, the better. I'll be honest, I do feel a little bit like a broken record when it comes to Aptos Season 2, but then again, it was the same thing with perpetual dexes. I really thought I was going crazy for farming that garbage for over a year, but then Hyperliquid came and it was all worth it. So let's just hope that Aptos is going to follow the similar playbook. 50%, specifically 49% of the supply is still reserved for future airdrops, so positioning a little bit in this ecosystem is definitely a good idea. Now, what you can do is follow something called Econia. This is referenced sometimes as Orderly of Aptos. They basically have a whole ecosystem of dApps, and you can see some of them here. You've surely heard about Arias Markets. It's one of the biggest money markets on Aptos. If you want to farm that as a relatively safe bet, sure, just understand the total value locked here is huge. So probably the airdrop itself would not be as big as maybe on some of these other dApps. For example, you have Echelon or Echelon, whatever it's called, and here you can simply loop your stablecoins. For example, you can loop USDC or USDT on Aptos, even Wormhole USDC, and you can generate between 20 to 25% yield on your stablecoin because borrowing rate is actually smaller than the APY you get for deposits. So in this specific situation, you can farm both points and some nice looping yield as well. Other than that, you have dexes such as Panora, you have dexes such as this Gator trade. So utilizing each of these every time you're on Aptos, maybe just organic swaps, or even if you want to farm it, make sure to use one of these because they're associated with Econia Labs. And saving the best for last, you have another opportunity to liquid stake Aptos with Echo protocol. Currently, it is showing that there's only about 1,000 users staking with the Echo protocol, and they have an ongoing points program. So whenever I hear points program, liquid staking, I just think of Jito. Of course, this is hopium, but if you want to make sure to diversify your bets around Aptos ecosystem, this is one thing you can consider. Also, keep in mind that they have about 250 million in total value locked, but this is, well, 310 million, but this is primarily from the Bitcoin on Aptos, so Aptos BTC, whereas the liquid staked Aptos is actually very, very small amount of users and actually maybe a much bigger opportunity. Not for the yield, but of course, airdrop speculation. And finally, if you want to trade the perpetuals on Aptos, you have classic, what we've been talking for months, Merkle. Merkle already has a token, but they actually have some kind of incentives going on for trading, which is like trading contest. But most importantly, if you want to speculate on another airdrop with perpetual dexes, you also have Tetis market, and this one is maybe going to be a little better since it is a little less known. Just remember that most of these ecosystem airdrops from Aptos itself were very, very underwhelming. For example, Solana was not a great airdrop, but it was just free money that you get for participating in Aptos. And we are primarily farming Aptos Season 2 with all of these initiatives. And that is a wrap for all the news regarding Aptos, SUI, and a little bit of Solana updates for today. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe with bell notifications on. For any questions or comments, I'm waiting for you in the comment section below, as well as our Discord. If you want to make sure to make the most out of the time ahead of us, make sure to join a private community like ours. And as always, thanks for watching. Have an amazing day.